Now joining us to discuss this issue further is investigative journalist Tony Gosling. Now we know that there's been aggressive mass culture of tax avoidance for some time now. So is this disclosure of HSBC's practice surprising?
Well, it should be surprising, but I'm afraid for me it's not. I mean, there's been a long history, as your reporter pointed out there, of the money laundering. One of the things also which stuck in my mind was mid-2014. We had a whole heap of Muslim charity accounts closed by HSBC, and many people at the time were saying, well, this is, what you're doing is you're being very cherry-picking which accounts you want to close and which you don't. And was accused, I think quite rightly, of Islamophobia as being part of the war on terror, so-called war on terror. But then also in mid-2014, we had a new BBC chairman appointed, Rona Fairhead. And this is what I think is at the crux of all this, because the BBC are in a way investigating themselves with the chairman, Rona Fairhead, who's still, in fact, on the risk committee of HSBC, and also as well a director of PepsiCo, actually now chairman of the BBC. So I wrote an article at the time, which she was appointed, saying, well, it will be interesting to see if there's any reporting by the BBC on HSBC, bearing in mind one of their directors is now the chairman of the corporation. And I'm really pleased to say I've been proved wrong and that there is an investigation going out tonight. So that's the other aspect of this, which is really important, is that we had the chairman, former chairman of HSBC, Lord Green. He was, up until recently, a government minister, a Tory government minister on trade, actually sitting around with David Cameron discussing policy. He's failed to comment today. Several reporters have been to him, Lord Green, saying, well, this all happened under your watch. What have you got to say about it? So the fact of the matter is HSBC are far, far too close to the British government, particularly the Conservative Party, and the question has to be who's in charge. I think the Conservative Party does what HSBC wants it to, rather than the other way round, and that's why we haven't seen any proper investigation into all this evidence of crime that's been going on.
But isn't it slightly bigger than that? Because we know that in 2011, the UK government negotiated an agreement with the Swiss government not to prosecute individuals for tax evasion. Now, why is this? Well,
that's a very good question, isn't it? How can you give people immunity to prosecution in that way when they've quite clearly broken the law? I think what's going on here is, what HSBC talks about in negotiations like that is, well, we need to maintain client confidentiality to keep confidence going. But that smacks to me of the same sort of arguments which are used, we can't tell you due to national security, over things like the invasion of Iraq, keeping things secret, because actually they'll be very damning of what you say. There's been a whole host of fascinating individuals having the finger pointed at them today. I just point to a couple. One is Prince Michael of Kent, who's the Queen's cousin, who's been sitting down with HSBC and making sure that his money is kept hidden from the taxpayer. Now, that's the cousin of the Queen. He's also the Grand Master of World Freemasonry, the United Grand Lodge in London. He's a very powerful man behind the scenes. And this kind of thing, I think, is absolutely astounding, to think that someone of so-called such high standing has been sitting down with these bankers and making these, putting his wealth out of the reach of taxpayers. At the same time, let's remember that we've got 1 million handouts of people from food banks. So people across Britain have got no food, while the super rich are actually actively and criminally avoiding tax.
Investigative journalist Tony Gosling, thank you very much for joining us today.